Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. What I'm going to do today is pick up on a subject that I was discussing before because I got a comment from Turbo Jones, who writes to me a lot, so thanks Turbo Jones for taking the time. I would love to hear from more of you, by the way. So I got this one from Turbo Jones, and it picks up on a subject I discussed a day or two ago. It was about Trump's appeal to black voters. He is seemingly on track to get a larger share of the black vote than a Republican presidential candidate has gotten in a long time. Probably since, I don't know, you would have to go way back to find a Republican. Well, Trump himself, his share of the vote in 2016 of the black vote was only 8%, which is pretty typical for Republican presidential candidates. I think George Bush did better, but that really is unique. I'm hoping, let me read you Turbo Jones's comment, and then I'll just answer his comment, and that should cover everything. So here we go. Trump is unique in his success with the black voters. I wonder if you would do a future treatment of what the future is for post-Trump Republicans. In other words, what after Trump, or who's after him? As far as who's after Trump, that's an interesting question because Trump in many ways really is a one-off. I'm trying to think of prospective Republican presidential candidates in 2024, and the ones I see Nikki Haley, I see Ted Cruz. Those are the two that I see, but they are not like Trump. But we have to be honest, and nobody is. I hope that a future Republican candidate will be able to pick up on what Trump will have accomplished. I hope we'll find out in the election. I think they will. I think it's going to be either Nikki Haley or Ted Cruz, and I'm really thinking Nikki Haley, because she has that kind of personal appeal that I don't see Cruz quite having. Well, actually, it's very interesting because, as we all know, we should by now, he grew a beard since he was in the 2016 primaries, and you could joke about physical appearance, but I think it makes a difference. He looks he looks stronger because he had a weak chin. He looks stronger. I'm speaking as somebody with a beard too. I am, just on that basis alone, perfect presidential material, I think. If you agree, you can put it in the comments and urge me to run for president. I'll let you know when I'm taking contributions. As for what comes after Trump, I think you're going to find that a lot of the black, maybe even all of the black voters who come over or will have come over to the Republican Party, that they will stay. Because, a big factor that doesn't get mentioned that I want to mention before we get to Trump, it's not just Trump. Well, what Trump did, he has inspired black voters to attend his rallies, to come to his rallies. But then the next part of the equation is, how are these black voters treated at the rallies? Obviously, if they feel unwelcome, that their presence is resented, that they are not wanted, and they're not going to stick around very long. And word of mouth, they're going to tell their black friends who might be thinking of attending, they're going to say to them, well, don't bother, you're just not wanted there. Whatever Trump says, don't believe it. It's just Trump speaking. That's not the way his supporters feel. So obviously what Trump is saying and the impression that Trump is giving of being receptive to black voters, I think that's it has to be. It's reflected in his supporters. That is what black people are finding when they come over. So on that basis alone, once they have joined the Republican Party, I think they're going to stay, because this is something that I have been seeing for a while. I have seen this years before Trump, before Trump came on the scene, looking back, you would see, well, in Chicago, I remember somebody speaking in Chicago. I remember, I can't remember his name, in Louisiana, a black former U.S. representative, I think he was. He switched over to the Republicans, and he just lambasted the Democrats. They are starting, it's like Trump said, what do you have to lose? But they are starting to realize that, just as I realized as a Jew, that the Democratic Party is not good for me, and they are realizing that the Democratic Party is not really good for them. In fact, to give you a preview of a vlog coming up, I might have to wait till next week because it's going to take some research, have to work on it over the weekend. But gun control, you have Jews being attacked in New York, anti-Semitic attacks, and you have Democrats, especially in New York, they make it impossible, almost impossible, for an average citizen to carry a gun. It's in the interest of Jews to carry a gun, and it's in the interest of, by the way, black people living in Harlem, where I used to live. Somebody was shot on my doorstep. Somebody was shot across the street. These are thugs who will always be able to get a gun. Democrats don't understand, or they understand but they don't care, or they're in denial that thugs, bad people will always be able somehow, some way to get a gun. It is us honest people who have the problem, especially in New York. Democrats will not let people defend themselves. So if you're black, I think you are coming, or more and more black voters are coming to the conclusion that they should not be listening to people like Spike Lee. They should be listening to the National Rifle Association. They should be arming themselves. That is one of the whats of what I think is going to happen. Now, the other side of the equation is for whoever the next Republican candidate is to reach out, to continue the outreach, and to be receptive to black voters. And I am pretty sure that that will happen. Now, I just want to get a little bit into what is so unique about Trump. Well, I mentioned it yesterday, one factor, which is that he does not, we're talking about reaching out to black voters. All he is doing is talking to them and going into their communities. But what is he saying? He is really just saying what he says to everybody else. That is the most important point, that the Republican Party, definitely the conservative wing of the Republican Party, because as I must remind myself every so often, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican. I left the Republican Party. Maybe I'll go back. We'll see what happens after this next election. But I am a conservative, and it's the basic ideas. I hope, and I actually am increasingly believing, that black voters are finding out that, unlike the Democrats, whose basic principle is pandering, a government program or a handout to benefit this group or that other group, and then they have to somehow cobble together a coalition of these various groups to win an election. And when they do that, black people, they often get thrown under the bus in favor of, for instance, illegal immigrants who take their jobs and, well, their children's jobs, and prevent them from getting on, as I said before, that bottom rung of the ladder where you have to start to work your way up. I think they are understanding that the Republican Party, it's the basic principles: low tax rates, few regulations, or as few as possible, pro-business, because it's business that creates the jobs, the right to defend yourself, so on and so forth. These basic principles that are the principles for everybody, that is what they are coming to understand. Those are the best principles. Also, they are realizing that, well, black people, I know again from living in Harlem, you see churches all over the place. They are very religious. I don't think they appreciate this attack on religion. I don't think they appreciate this bashing of Christians. I could go on and on. I'm trying to make this short. I think I've already failed. So let me just get to what is unique about Trump. I talked about this before. It's his background. He's a multi-billionaire. He is a giant real estate developer, but that is where I think an important difference lies between him and other billionaires. Let's say Michael Bloomberg or Tom Steyer, or I think a perfect example, an elite like Joe Biden, who was talking the other day about coal miners, and he said, well, if you can go down into a mine shaft and if you can dig out coal, then you can learn how to code.
Anybody who could go down 300 to 3,000 feet in a mine sure and hell can learn how to program as well. Anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to program, for God's sake.
That's their solution to everything, to just learn how to code, learn how to program. Well, I would say to Joe Biden, if you can code, you can learn how to go into a coal mine and dig out coal, and you'll probably find that you'll be earning more. That is the kind of elitism that is the opposite of Trump. Coal miners know that, and so they appreciate Donald Trump. And again, this comes from his background that I mentioned in a previous vlog, because he's a real estate developer, I'm a real estate broker. So I can tell you that a difference between big real estate guys and, let's say, if you're the president or the CEO of a software company or General Motors or something like that, you're in an ivory tower. You're up in your executive suite. You don't have to go down to the line where the blue-collar workers are on the line screwing in bolts and putting on panels. You don't have to go down and talk to them and see how the line is operating. You have a zillion layers of people between you and them, each layer watching the lower layer to see what's going on. But if you're in real estate, that is different. If you're a real estate developer, you do have to go to the construction site. You have to take out the plans. You have to walk through with the foreman, and then you meet the workers and you shake hands with them and you develop a relationship with the workers. There's a rapport that develops. I remember seeing on television a scene where I was during either the campaign or the primaries, where Trump would be speaking at a restaurant, but he would not go in the front way. He went in the back way. He would go through the kitchen and he would talk to all the workers, the cooks, and he would shake hands with them. That is, I think, his appeal. He does not talk down to people. He is somebody who is as comfortable with fellow billionaires and celebrities as he is with the guy sweeping the floor and emptying the waste baskets. He also deals with, well, I showed in an earlier video photos of him with Don King and Kanye West. He mixes with all kinds of people, and he is comfortable with all kinds of people. He's a rich kid, but he's a rich kid who grew up in Queens, and he would go with his father to his father, Fred Trump's real estate projects, which were out in Queens, not in Manhattan, and they were middle-class housing. So he is comfortable in that milieu too. So I just talked about Joe Biden. Since we're talking about presidential candidates, compare Trump also to somebody like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, well, he is from, as you can probably tell by the accent, he is from New York. I forget whether it's Brooklyn or Queens. I'm from Detroit. I'm not that great at differentiating between a Queens accent and a Brooklyn accent and a Bronx accent. But he has spent most of his career in Vermont, which is 98% white. So he doesn't have a lot of interaction with black people. And the black people with whom he does interact, from what I can see, they're almost entirely extreme left-wing activists. That's not your typical black person. As I said, black people are socially conservative. And Trump, well, having lived in New York for almost 40 years and been able to follow Trump through almost his entire career, I would not call him socially conservative. But he does get along with social conservatives. Again, it's his ability to relate to all kinds of people. I've seen story after story of people having an impression of Trump and then meeting him and then saying afterwards he's just a regular guy, being pleasantly surprised of Trump in reality. Whereas with, I think, other presidential candidates, it's just the opposite. I would say Barack Obama is a perfect example. He puts on, and not very successfully a lot of the time, but he portrays himself as a friend of the common man. But I've heard story after story of in private, and that he is cold and aloof as a private person. And you notice that a lot of times when he is photographed, you see him like that, with his nose stuck up in the air, which if you follow the body language experts, that is, people talk about somebody being stuck up or having their nose stuck in the air, but that is reality. That actually is an indication of arrogance and of contempt for other people. Trump is the opposite. Now, I want to talk about populism. This is my short definition, illustration of populism. I think it goes again to Trump's appeal. Well, let's say you're a homeowner. You're a homeowner, you've lived in your house for many years. One day you look at your house and you say, you know, the house doesn't really look that great. All the walls are white, and the furniture, well, it's just furniture that I've bought over the years. I would just buy a couch. If it wore out, I'd buy another couch. So I've got all this hodgepodge of furniture here and there. And you know what? Or actually, if you're married, your wife probably tells you, let's call in a professional interior decorator to decorate the house. And you call in a decorator, you consult with the decorator, and the decorator says, okay, this is what you need. You need this kind of furniture. I think this kind of style. Maybe shows you some pictures and says, what do you think? And you don't know a lot about it, so you're just kind of going by what the decorator says. And the decorator says, well, I think a Scandinavian look would be good, or French, or whatever. I think you need this kind of furniture. The walls should be this color, and you should get these kitchen appliances. And you say, okay, you sign a contract. The decorator goes to work. Now the decorator is starting to bring in the furniture. Well, let's say the decorator starts first painting the walls. So that's the first step, painting the walls, and you're looking at the walls when they're painted, and you say, you know, something just doesn't feel right. And you talk to the decorator and you say, well, I'm not sure about these colors. Are you sure? And the decorator says, yeah, those are the right colors. Trust me, I'm the expert. Those are the colors. That's what you should have. So you said, okay, and you go along with the expert and you go with those colors. Then the furniture starts coming in and you say, this chair looks nice, but I sit on it, it's not comfortable. I'm not really... Trust me, that is a look. That's what you need. That's the right furniture for this look. So the process continues. The decorator continues to paint the walls that the decorator believes are the right colors, brings in the furniture that you're going to sit in, not the decorator, that the decorator says is the right furniture. It goes on and on and on. And finally, you'll say maybe one day, you know what, you're fired. I understand you're an expert, but I don't like what you're doing. Just get out of here. Just give me your bill for what you've done so far. And then you fire the decorator. Maybe you try another decorator, or maybe you just say, you know what, I can go to Barnes & Noble. I can get some books on interior design. I think I could do a better job myself. That, to me, is populism. That's what I think is happening. Voters have, for decades, gone along with experts. Let experts come up with this program and that program, this solution and that solution, and have not been happy with the results. And finally, people are saying, you know what, experts, I'm tired of listening to you. I think I can do a better job. Your job is to do what I tell you. Don't tell me anymore what you think is best for me. Don't tell me what kind of health care I need. I want to pick my own health care. Don't design a health care program for me. I want to buy my own health care. I want to decide what I want. Don't tell me that I should rely on the police to, well, as the old saying goes, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away. You're telling me, Mr. Expert, that I should rely on the government, on the police to protect me, to keep myself and my family safe? No. I want to keep myself safe. I want the right to keep and bear arms. I'll buy my own gun. You can clean up the mess afterwards. I'm going to defend myself. That, to me, is populism. It's the people, we, telling the experts that you are no longer to tell us what we need. We will tell you what we need. We will tell you what to do, and then you will use your expertise to give us what we want in the most cost-efficient way. That's populism to me, and that to me is Trump's appeal, because he appeals exactly to that sensibility. And so, getting back to Turbo Jones's comment, I'll end on this. That's what, well, I can't predict what will come after, but that's what should come after, and that's who should come after Trump. Somebody who will continue to listen to the average Joe Six-Pack, the person who will relate to those people, make those people believe and feel that that candidate is one of us, that that candidate is listening. And that's it. I'm going to go enjoy the, well, what time is it? Well, it's not even 10 o'clock. I started doing this in the morning. I got my whole day ahead of me. So I'm going to go off and enjoy my New Year's Day today. You're seeing this the next day, so I hope you enjoyed your New Year's Day. And I also hope that you'll give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Put them in the comments below the video. You can also put questions in there. You can put a suggestion for a future topic. You can also subscribe. I love getting subscribers. Subscribe. And finally, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.